All right, welcome to episode 90 of the Beer and Bullshit Show.
Woo!
90. Only
Holy
10
cow.
more, Jim Bab. Only
Whoa.
10 more. I know, right? It just remember we started this whole thing three years and 3 months ago. 3 years and 5 months ago, actually. So,
Well, that was right around the time Tom Woods started his podcast, and he's about to hit episode 1,000.
oh, well, he probably does his every day, practically.
Yeah. Richard Schwartz I got a message from Richard Schwartz asking how to get on. Can we send him an invite?
I said, get his Gmail
Okay, I'll ask
address and post it in the chat room.
Okay.
Because I'm now limited with being on 2 devices.
Okay.
So, sorry.
No sweat. I'm messaging him now. Anyway,
Okay.
90 episodes is not shabby considering our laziness, and I think it seems like a lot actually. So
we go for quality, not quantity.
Exactly.
That's right. Quality.
That's why
We're a quality show.
That's why we keep it to under 3 hours, no matter what.
I don't know, Jim Bad. We've had some episodes where we've gone over 3 hours.
Well, at least it would be nice if we did keep it under 3 hours. Anyway.
Well, we've been doing a really good job the last, I don't know, 20, 30 episodes that we've kept it at least under 3 hours, 2.5, 2 hours most. So
cool.
All right. I see Jim Bab there's got the Wookiee Jack.
Yeah, this was a cabinet like miracle find. Like Christina cleaned out like a kitchen cabinet and found this in the back. I don't know how many years it's been in there though, but it's been dark and climate controlled. I was hoping to find a date on the bottle. Oh, there is 11/30/15. There you go. 4 o'clock. This thing was brewed. Thank you, Firestone Walker, for putting that on there. Right, I think that's important. But anyway, we all know that this beer, Wookiee Jack, is basically extinct now. That they're no longer making it. So, but I kind of poured that a little too rough. But look how foamy it is. It's great. It's endured quite well. I'll know more after I sip it for a while, but anyway, not bad.
Okay. Cool. Okay, Scott, what you drinking, buddy?
Well, y'all know me. Today I'm going to start off with the Sam Adams Rebel Juiced IPA. I've talked about it plenty of times on the show. But this time I happen to have one of the famed 2017 glasses. I have to give a shout out to Boston Beer Company. I had received a care package with 2 glasses, 2 koozies, and 2 promotional pair of Summer Ale sunglasses. A big what's up to Sam Adams for sending me that, and I'm going to keep doing reviews for them. Their beer just seems to keep getting better. Now that the Nano Brewery is up and running, and I also hear that there might be possibilities of tap houses in the works.
Tap houses? Where? New, like
as of right now, I hear that they're building one up in Boston. As I guess it would be the first one. I can't say that I blame them for the home stretch. But I hope to have one in PA, and I also have to have one in Cincinnati.
Okay. And if they were sending you more than 2 glasses, they might get more than 2 people on this show to say that they taste good. But so Sam Adams, I'd be more than happy to say nice things as well. I think, have you let them know how many hosts we have on the show?
I've told them about the show. I've told them to check it out. And I normally say that we try to have a packed house.
So anyway, let's have them step it up a little bit. I'd like to see I'd like to see them sending out a little bit. You know, we should do a little bit better for the product placement. And I mean, let's face it, you've pretty much made them as a brewery, right? With your promotional reviews and making them here on the show. Like, I don't think Sam Adams would be what it is today without what you've done for them.
I wish I could say that Jim has done wonders for the company and the craft beer industry itself. But
sure, he's done a lot of the work. But
fans like myself that do a lot of the free promotions, it's nice to finally get something back and for them to show some love back.
Right on. Cheers. So what is with this Rebel Juiced? What it's
like, it's going to be it's part of the new
with mango in it.
Yeah, it's the one. It's for their Rebel series. It's going to be a year-round beer. It's got a lot of love for it. It's a tropical twist of mango and citra hops. So it's primarily just the plain ordinary Rebel. I would say base form. And then with mango and citra hops added.
Cool.
And that's what you get. I mean, if you like mango, you like a little citra burst, that's all you're getting in this beer.
Well, how strong is the mango? I mean, is it a subtle thing or is it in your face?
Oh no, it's up in your face.
I probably wouldn't care for that. But, I'd try it.
Yeah, it's full on mango with it's a soft mango. I mean, it gives you a punch of mango in the mouth and then it's kind of settled down. It's more soft. It's easy drinking. It's 6.2% at like 55 IBUs, so it's not very bitter. But I mean, it's got like a nice tropical, almost kind of like a smoothie softness to it.
Cool.
They do have a beer that I wish that I could get right now. It's going to be a brewery release only, and it's what's it called? Blood and Sand. It is a whiskey barrel aged beer.
Blood and Sand.
Yeah,
that's kind of an odd theme.
Yeah. It's. I'm trying to pull the picture up for it now. Yeah, I've been kind of like wanting this beer since I heard about it because this is going to be one of their first bottled barrel aged beers, and it's I kind of like I understand why breweries do it, where they release only at the brewery to get people.
Shane, I'm going to mute you, okay? Or can you mute yourself? I think we're getting a lot of noise from your mic. Uh-oh, are you mic'd or muted? Now you're muted.
Chris is muted.
I've been muted for a while.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We're getting some noise there. I wasn't sure where it was coming from.
I'm not really sure, but do I sound okay?
Yeah, it does. Right. So I don't know where that was, but anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right, we're not going to be here too long, so.
Cool. Now I want to hear all about what's going on there at the brewery too. So.
Yeah, I'm down at Pagosa in Colorado. Here. Gosh, they don't have any high ABV beers, so I grabbed a flight of some Irish ale, some Scotch whiskey ale, a Pagosa pale ale, and a Chili Verde. I like the Chili Verde. It's pretty good. Again, it's only like a 5% beer, so you need to have a lot.
It's like going to a concert where the volume is the same the whole show. How boring would that be? Right? You need a variety of volume levels to really rock the house. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would say so. I think
I'd like to see some higher alcohol levels there.
Yeah, some good, at least 10s. You got to get at least close to 10s or 12s. And you can charge a little bit more for those, so it's a good profit point.
And I had a beer that went up to 11 the other day. Had that KBS Founders KBS is like over 11%. Man, I don't see that very often, but it's pretty good. Glad it came in a small glass size, though.
Yeah, that makes it a little easier to deal with.
Well, it's a high volume, like if back to our rock analogy, it's like a guitar solo, right? If it goes on too long, it could be a problem.
I don't know. This is the first year that they put it in 750 milliliter bottles too, and I wish I could have got that one.
Which one is the 750?
Yeah, it can't. It also, this is the first year that they put it in a 750. But you got your standalone 4-packs, which are just like broken up and sold as single bottles, and then they'd also come in a 750.
If I was sharing it, that'd be great. If I drank a whole 750 liters of that, I'd be, well, let's just say I'm no Amy Strong, so I'd be hammered.
I mean, overall, it's been one of the best years. I've had it like since 2014, and this has been the best since 2014.
Cool.
So at least you got to try a really good vintage.
What's going on with Chris's beer? I want to know what he's drinking.
What you drinking on, Chris?
Well, I'm drinking something from Toppling Goliath Brewery called Rover Truck. It's a oatmeal stout.
Nice.
It's a little cold today here. It's dipped back into the 50s, and it's raining. So it's a good beer mail. So I was opening that while you guys were.
Nice.
Yes, I got beer mail from. I want to give a shout out to Mike Weiler. He's from Wichita, Kansas, and he sent me one of his favorite beers. So I was just opening that while you guys were talking. So
Sweet. I always like it when friends mail me beer. Maybe if I had more friends, I would be getting more beer mailed to me. But pretty rare.
So you got live music going tonight. But I'll show you guys something really quick on the way out.
All right, cool.
Before I say goodbye. See that?
Looks like a medal.
It's a good food awards 2013. Why good food? I don't know why it's good food. It's got chili in it. All right, you guys. It was great getting on. Sorry I couldn't stay longer.
No,
it's okay.
Cool.
I have to go jump in the hot springs right now, so it's really hard out here. Pray for me.
The life you're leading is so challenging. I'm sure. It's really tough. Hey, say hi to Richard Schwartz before you bail out.
Richard.
Hi.
Hopefully, I'll see you on the next episode.
Enjoy, Shane. Enjoy. Have some fun for the rest of us.
All right. We'll see you guys later. Have a good night.
You too. Later. Thanks, Shane.
Thanks for having me on. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Well, we lost Shane, but we got a Richard Schwartz.
Hey, I opened up that beer mail.
Whoa.
All right.
Do tell.
And I can't pronounce it. It's SAMICHLAUS. It's an Austrian beer.
Samichlaus.
Yeah, I've seen that one before.
It's a 14%er.
Damn.
Nice.
That looks like a treat, man. That looks like a serious treat.
He said that it was one of his favorites, and he asked me if I could get it here, and I said, no, I can't. And he said, well, I'll send you a bottle. He said
Boom.
you have to drink it really cold.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
I wouldn't have expected that, but
More than likely to hide the alcohol.
Yeah. At 14%. I don't think I've had anything more than a 13%er. So
I guess that's for people that don't like the taste of alcohol. Sometimes a beer can be boozy in that level. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, if the brewers have to know exactly what they're doing to be able to mask the ethanol attack.
Some are masters at it. That really is the sign, I think, where you can have like a super high octane beer. I guess it's why a lot of times they do come the higher octanes do come with the heavier flavors. But I don't know. Let's find out what Richard.
I'm going to be out having this one on camera tonight.
I can't really see what it is.
13%. It's called On Fleek.
Okay.
It's an imperial stout. I've had 2 of them, so I know pretty much the style that it's supposed to be, the flavors that it's supposed to partake. And 13%, not a problem with this beer.
Okay. All right, Richard, what are you drinking?
Can you see me? It doesn't show my own
just the
picture
photo.
on the,
Or did you activate the camera?
I thought I did. What do I have to do? I have to go into.
Should be like right up at the top of the screen.
Oh, there we go. Let's try that.
There you go.
There you go.
All right. There we go.
we see Richard.
Welcome to the Beer and Bullshit Show.
I'm drinking an awesome beer from a place called Fawn Grove, Pennsylvania. It's south and west of York on the Pennsylvania-Maryland border. And this is their Intervals Single Hopped Eldorado. All their beers are fantastic. I was in a beer store in Lancaster the other day, and the guy recommended this brewery to me. And I bought like 4 cans of 4 different beers, and each one is incredible. So very happy. Here's the glass.
Very nice.
So Jim Bab,
Richard.
you want Richard to go on his rant now, or maybe a little later?
Let's work it. Let's get him a little boozed up first. I think that would be a good idea. Just to put in a plug for Richard. Richard's the kind of friend that left PorkFest at like 3:00 in the morning to drive to Maine Beer Company to score some dinner of their special release, to be able to be in line at an ungodly hour, acquire this beer, and return to PorkFest sleep deprived, but loaded with great beer. So most of my friends wouldn't do that for me. In fact, only
Yeah,
one.
well, hopefully we'll get to do it again. Hopefully there'll be something interesting to get this summer.
Oh, I think so too. Are you planning any pre-PorkFest brewery stops?
Well, I don't really have time because I'm driving up Tuesday, and I want to get there in time for the Somalia Fest party. So I don't know if I'll have time to stop anywhere on the way up. But I'm going to definitely go back to this South County brewery and be bringing up some interesting stuff, probably some Pennsylvania stuff. It's pretty good.
So that one you just mentioned, is the brewery's called South County?
It's called South County, and it's in Fawn Grove, Pennsylvania.
Nice. That's great. So
Yeah.
I'm going to be hitting a few of the
If we ever have a
breweries.
reason to go. Yeah, if we ever have a reason to go to the York area, we should definitely make this a stop.
A reason to go to York, like.
Well, this might be the reason.
Cool. I'm planning on hitting the new. Well, it's new to me, the Alchemist retail shop in Vermont. I haven't been there since it opened last year.
Nice.
So,
Oh, the one in Stowe?
yeah.
Yeah, I want to get to go there too. I'll definitely pop in there at some point that week.
I've seen pictures of it. It looks like they dropped some money on it.
Nice.
But
Now,
I remember the original the place we went as of a few years ago was so cool. You just walk in, and you could walk out with like 3 cases of Hetty Topper. Just no line, no hassle. Just in and out. Just your basic retail transaction. You didn't have to chase a truck down or. So.
Well, it sounds like that's the case again with the new place in Stowe, right? I mean, it's no longer hard to get.
And I think they have other beers now available too. So.
Focal banger.
We'll see. Yeah, and others that I don't know. I'm hoping there'll be something else around there, but this time we're going to be in Vermont for 2 whole days instead of usually we just like try to do 1 day of Vermont breweries, but this time we got 2. So
cool.
Ed, you said did you pick those beers up in a store in Lancaster?
Lancaster?
Yes. Yeah, Lancaster, PA. Oh, I picked up my beers in Lancaster, PA, not Lancaster, New Hampshire.
Yeah. Well, when he said Lancaster, that's in New Hampshire. Lancaster is in Pennsylvania.
But the point,
right.
This is, I'm an Ohioan, so therefore,
I just wanted to know what you were talking about. That's all. No.
Being the fact that you picked them up there, have you been to Springhouse?
No, and I tried to go there on the same day that I picked these up, and unfortunately I tried to go to another place called Wexler or something that was near there, and I got so out of the way. I had to be in Philadelphia by a certain time, and my stop at Wexler, which was a complete failure, took up all my time, so I didn't make it to Springhouse, but that's on the list. I want to get there.
Yeah, I've had some of their beers, and they are just phenomenal.
Cool.
Now, it sounds disgusting, but I've had the Big Gruesome and the Little Gruesome. The Big Gruesome is a chocolate peanut butter porter, or I call it a porter because it didn't have the oomph that a stout has. But the Little Gruesome is a chocolate peanut butter and jelly stout. It's got peanut butter in it, it's got chocolate in it, and it's got raspberries in it. And it was just phenomenal.
Sounds flavorful.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, Richard, what's with this new InBev acquisition? Wicked Weed, is that the brewery they acquired?
Wait a minute, you kind of broke up and I didn't get what you said.
Oh, the InBev acquisition.
Was, possibly still is, an incredible brewery in Asheville, North Carolina. And I've been drinking their stuff for the past couple of years. Their Pernicious IPA, they had a Lieutenant Dank IPA, a couple others, and visited there last summer. Loved the place. And as I said in my thing, I have no problem with these breweries, being purchased by InBev. If someone were to throw several $100 million at me, it would be a hard thing to say no to. So I don't fault them for doing it, but my distaste for InBev, I will never drink their product again. So it's unfortunately, there's plenty of other things to drink. If it was just, InBev bought the last surviving, small mom and pop handcraft brewery, well, then you just kind of have to give in. But luckily, we don't have to do that.
So you're assuming the beer will still be good, but just based on the business practices of InBev, like they're sort of cornering markets and trying to squeeze out other beers. Is that
exactly? Yeah, exactly. In a lot of states, we still have this archaic, from Prohibition, the 3-tiered system, where the breweries can't sell direct to retail or the bars, and they have to go through the distributors. And of course, that's the market that InBev is trying to control. And the more they own these craft breweries in their high-end craft brewery field, the more they can go to these distributors and say to them, look, we've got the craft beer market covered. You don't need to have any of these other brands. And they offer these $1 million incentives to these distributors to only carry InBev product. And I don't think we have to worry about that in Philadelphia. We've got plenty of independent distributors, and there's such a huge market for craft beer that they're still going to get around. But there are other markets in the country that They only have one distributor that serves them. And if that distributor needs the $1 million that InBev is waving in front of their face to only serve InBev products, then it's a problem.
Right. It
And
may be
it's-
working out for InBev and it may be working out for that distributor, but the people that are losing out on that arrangement are the beer consumers.
Right. And you
But
see it
ultimately,
happening,
can you really be mad at, I mean, just to play devil's advocate, can you really be mad at InBev for trying to corner markets, or is it really the people that are caving into their demands that are the real, despicable characters, the ones that say, yeah, I'm only going to sell InBev. I mean, aren't they the real problem?
Well, in a sense, yeah, I see your point, but InBev is the one that's offering them $1 million. Now, InBev, now you can just look at that one example and say, okay, that's not so bad. But when my buddies opened up their craft beer bar in Miami Beach, and this was 20 years ago in 1996, they were physically threatened by the InBev sales reps because they weren't carrying, of course, it wasn't InBev back then, it was Anheuser-Busch, but they were physically threatened by the Anheuser-Busch sales reps because they weren't carrying any Bud products.
That's kind of a pushy sale,
It's a very, very pushy sale, and it created a problem for a while. And in some states it's really bad because in Florida, they've got a huge Anheuser-Busch brewery in Tampa, so the state legislature just goes along with whatever Anheuser-Busch asks them to do. And it's crony capitalism, and who's at fault? Is it the corporation or is it the government for allowing the corporation to get away with this stuff? I think they're
or is
both
it the people that
complicit.
believe in government that have empowered them to regulate the beer market to the detriment of the consumers?
The same thing just went ahead and happened in Massachusetts. What was it? At the end of 2015, beginning of 2016, they had this big. I called it the brewery sales investigations, because it was like the big three were giving stores incentives to kind of push aside craft beer just to get their stuff premier shelf space. I think it's Miller's or Coors now have their own cooler it's just primarily for their stuff and their stuff only. They go into certain stores, and they got fined. I think it was like somewhere around $16 million just for that state alone. And I'm like, well, how many other states are they doing that to?
It's just a shakedown. I mean, when you create these artificial monopolies and these licensing configurations, and it creates a sort of a breeding ground for cronyism and turf wars and bribes and people fighting each other to get their little scrap of this artificially carved out market. I'm pretty sure that if we could just get rid of things like these alcohol control boards and licensing and these mandated 3 tiers, and what could InBev do at that point to impose themselves? I think it'd be a lot harder.
Well, if we could get rid of the 3-tier system alone, I mean, that would be a huge advantage, because of the fact that the breweries could then sell directly to people or to specific stores. I applaud Pennsylvania for changing its laws, for centuries ago. I mean,
well, which law are you talking about?
Being able to actually sell in grocery stores, and now you can get 6-packs and stuff in grocery stores, and
barely at a separate cash register if they built an addition. And I'm sure it's a paperwork nightmare. It's a regulatory nightmare. At Wegmans, they're so freaked out by it that they demand ID of every single customer, regardless of how gray your head is.
But it doesn't have to be but Jim, it doesn't have to be your own personal ID.
Have we done that before?
Yeah, remember you didn't have your ID when we were having the meeting there, and you just asked to borrow mine, like you and I look anything alike, and they just need an ID.
Right. Yeah. That'd be funny if they had flagged us. I'm like, nope, I'm sorry. We've looked at this and concluded we're not sure how old you are. Okay.
But I mean, I frequent, my family likes to go over to Cranax, and there's a Giant Eagle over there, and I can go in there. I can pick out, I have been for quite some time, 6-packs, single bomber bottles, the stuff
in the
like that.
grocery
So I don't know. What's that?
This is in a Pennsylvania grocery store,
Yes.
and you just take it right through the regular cashier.
They have it sectioned off. It's their alcohol department.
Yeah, no, that's what I've seen, and it's like saying, like, well, look, we put a beer. If it pleased the crown, might I have a beer store next to where
That I
food is
get,
also
yeah.
served?
Yeah, the other thing about Pennsylvania is, the stores are allowed to do it. They have to have restaurant seating for at least 32 patrons.
Why?
Well, that's just the law. And it's funny because
Why?
there's a place in Philadelphia. There's this little tiny market on 10th and Pine Street called the Foodery, and they've been selling beer for decades. And
Oh, yeah.
they have 32 chairs stacked on top of each other, so they meet the letter of the law. There's no place in the place to actually sit down and eat or drink. But they comply
this is
with
like
the 32 seats, and if you look in the back room, they've got 32 chairs all stacked on top of each other.
it's like a micro convenience store in the neighborhood. I used to live around there. That's a cool little spot, but really small.
really small, but a great selection of
Why
beer.
do we
They've
have
always
to
had a
have
good
these? Like,
selection.
why do what? Who the hell's interested in being served by playing this game?
And the other thing,
Who said, well, it's got to be 32 seats or no?
yeah, and of course the other thing too is the cost. I mean, the cost of these licenses is so high that even the supermarkets like Wegmans, even though they're doing incredibly high volume and it's probably the cheapest 6-pack you're going to find in Pennsylvania, it still is 20 to 30% more expensive at Wegmans than it is any store in Delaware. Now, Pennsylvania actually gets a larger selection of beer than Delaware, so I buy most of my beer in Pennsylvania rather than going to Delaware since I can get a better selection. But even in this, in any store, you're going to pay 20 to 30% more for it because they have to pay the huge cost of their license.
We need more rogue brewers out there. And before you were on, Chris, Scott was talking about these Pico brewing systems where and Shane was talking about one that literally brewed like, what was it, like 10 beer? I mean,
Yeah,
like a
it
very
was like
small
he was
quantity.
talking about. It was a system where you would get the system and whatever available beer, I guess you could say, was available to
They give you
pick
the
from.
wort, and
Get the
you
wort,
put
and
it
you
in a
would just
tank.
put it in the system, and it would brew within 5 days 10 beers.
I don't know.
I kind of like the Pico brewing system. I mean, you get to do it yourself. You get to, fool around with your recipes, and you just throw it in there and you brew it up. And I mean, you can keg it right there.
So, Richard, are there any changes on Pennsylvania booze laws? I see that our local Acme is going to be selling beer. I guess they eventually you have to say, hey, how come they get to do it and we don't? And eventually everybody gets the same stupid arrangement. But is anything actually changing?
I don't know. Russ Diamond recently posted that he was doing something voting for something with the booze laws, but who knows?
He's probably voting to strengthen them.
No, I don't think it was that, but it's
Well,
not.
he is an alcoholic, so maybe we can count on him in this area.
That's
this
right.
might be one where you really, he might actually vote correctly.
But I think with the supermarkets, they started out, it was very limited, but I think now pretty much any supermarket can do it, but it's a very expensive license. They have to put in the restaurant seating. And so a lot of these like little tiny supermarkets, they just don't have the room to do it. And maybe they don't have the guts to do like what the Foodery in Philadelphia has been getting away with for decades. But yeah, I don't know. But more and more stores are doing it.
No, we're doing it. No, we're just doing it. Screw you. No, that's dumb. We're doing it our way.
But don't they allow the distributors to now sell 6-packs? Because it used to be you could only buy cases at the distributors, and I think the distributors can now sell even a single can.
Really? That is kind of new. I've stopped going to my distributor just because as the beer market sort of blossomed, I no longer wanted a whole case of the same beer anymore. So I stopped going to the distributor.
Right.
But maybe I should go back in case, so I can.
And they may still be able to benefit from the cheaper prices because their licenses aren't as expensive. So, Yeah, you can buy direct. I mean, the best thing to do is to buy direct from any of the breweries that you go to anyway, because, Tired Hands, all these places, they sell out of their beer direct to consumer. They have very little that they would ever sell to a retail outlet. Now, they sell kegs to bars and stuff, but, you really have to go to Levante or Tired Hands or Funk or any of these places when they're doing their can release if you want to get the best beers.
I mean, especially over there in Pennsylvania. I mean, I hear Pizza Boy Brewing Company is really good.
Mm-hmm.
I've had their Simcoe Samurai, and it was phenomenal.
Simcoe Samurai.
Yeah, Pizza.
Gotta catch up. I love Pizza Boy, but they got way more beers than I keep track of now.
Yeah, they have 100 taps, and 30 of them are their own beers. They have like 30
Nice.
Pizza Boy beers and 70 other beers.
Have you been there, Richard?
Yeah, several times.
Okay.
And the Yard House just opened in King of Prussia, and they have like 150 taps. I have no idea if any of them are any good. Sometimes those places with ridiculous numbers of taps, it's just all the mainstream beer, but might be worth checking out.
That's like the one in what is it, Raleigh, North Carolina? It has like 366 taps.
Well, what's that place in West Philly, Richard, that has like 9,000 taps? But it's a big college place, and you have to like stand there for 20 minutes to get one beer.
I'm not familiar with it.
It's like the Philly Tap House or something like that. Philly Tap Room. It's
Haven't been there.
huge. It's like it's not far from the Drexel campus, and anyway, it's so full of college kids just waiting to get beer. Like you can barely get served, but if you do, they've got hundreds and hundreds of taps.
But yeah, I mean, you just mentioned that place in Raleigh, the Beer Garden in Raleigh, which has 300 taps. And I was just there in March, the place in Raleigh, and it was an absolutely horrible experience. I hope never to be there again.
I heard same thing.
They didn't have, out of their 300 taps, they had maybe a half a dozen that were even considered drinkable. And again, the wait to get a beer. I mean, it's packed. People love it, so more power to them. But
Right.
It was just a nightmare trying to get a beer and
How could you
dealing
put
with the whole thing.
How could you put 300 beers on tap and just not by chance randomly end up with 30 or 40 outstanding ones?
Well, I think it's by chance that they ended up with a dozen half decent ones, but they didn't, not 30 or 40. It depends on your style. Like I'm an IPA guy. Now, maybe if you like sours or stouts or something, you might have found something there that you liked.
But still, like every genre should have 10 or 20 different beers in that genre. So,
Right.
anyway.
I mean, it would be a nice thing. I mean, I've even had an idea to create a I would say a local at least tap house, serve at least some decent side dishes, like little mini hamburgers, stuff like bar food, to keep you drinking, and have at least 200 to 300 taps. I mean, you could get some of the best quality beer in the area. But
it's a tough gig though to try. I mean, just imagine the maintenance nightmare,
Right.
Of keeping them
that's the
clean,
big issue that I ran
of
into.
keeping 300 kegs fresh.
Yep.
Of keeping the ones that people want current and not ending up with one sitting around for a month.
Well, that's what I talked to the local place that I go to in Howland, Ohio. It's called Barrel 33. I mean, they got some of the best beer that I can get anywhere. I picked up like things like this. I'm one of their beer geeks that come in and kind of throw my weight around, and knock on wood, thankfully, they listen. And it's just like, I cannot stand their tap system. They've got like almost 20 taps, and it's all filled with mediocre beer. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And I've seen this same beer on tap for at least 3 months.
You think it's the same keg?
Yeah, I keep talking to them, and they're like, oh, well, we have multiple kegs of the same beer because it's popular with the ones that don't drink, the higher end craft beer. And I'm like, okay, I get that, but why don't you have at least something that is considered to be, uber rare, like KBS or, just something barrel aged. and they're like, well, the pricing, it's not going to sell that well because then we're going to have to lower the quality or the quantity of beer that we're giving. Because I mean, I could walk in there if they had a local 10%. Oh, let's go with 6 points resin. They'll serve me a 6 points resin in a 16-ounce pint glass. Where
As
most
it should be.
places, yeah, most places they're going to limit that to like a 9-ounce pour.
No, that would be the high res. The resin's a normal IPA.
Yeah, anything like 8 or 9%, they start limiting over here.
Well, and I'm fine with that. In fact, I wish there were more, different size beers you could get, because so many times I'm like, wow, I'd really love to try 5, 6, 8, maybe more beers. But if they're coming in these large glasses, like there's no way.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm gonna
get
try one of
yourself
these.
like flights like this.
Flights are fun. I want to try one of those bars where it's self-service and you're charged by the milliliter. You know what I'm talking about? Where it's like an array of taps and you like swipe your card or something, and it's like,
Okay, kind of like a wine serving.
yeah, but you want 4 ounces, you get 4 ounces. You want 12 ounces, you get 12 ounces. Whatever you want.
That would actually be really interesting.
I think so too. It'd be great. Like, oh, just try everything that way, and then you're like, ooh, yeah, fill that one up.
But the one thing that I keep going back to the bar that I go to all the time is because of the fact that I'll take this beer, for example. If I walk over and I see this beer sitting on the shelf, it's going to be $3.69 to walk out of the store with this beer. But if I pay 75 cents more, I can actually go over, pop the top off of it, and have them pour it in a glass, even though that it's like 10.5%.
Right on.
So I mean that I like that option.
Well, that place, the last show, we dialed in from our beer shop in Ardmore, which is really just cool because it's got all these refrigerators and you just pick out what you want, and every beer is like $3.50 or $4.50. Doesn't matter, you just hand it to the bartender and he pours it. It's
Nice.
it's just shockingly inexpensive compared to drinking in a bar. Like, because we were there, like we had like several drinks, and like I bought a drink for a friend and had a couple myself, and I get the bill, it's like $15.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it was only $15. That was so
what?
cheap.
Well, that's what people don't understand. I mean, if unless you're going during happy hour and you get like specialties off of like tap system, go over if they have the license to pour out a bottle, go get it out of the bottle because it's going to be cheaper in the end.
Anyway, I like the hybrid bottle shop bar combination. I'd like to see, instead of keeping 300 taps, it's probably a lot easier to keep a nice inventory of delicious bottles available, for whatever your clients need. Profit margin, of course, is much higher on the taps. So,
well, we have a store in, where the heck is that? It's like an hour and a half away from here. Maybe not even that far. But they boast that they have the most bottle selections in the area. And I mean, granted, they do. They have a lot of bottles. But their biggest problem is that when you go down there and you look at some of their bottles and imports and exports and stuff like that, I mean, you got like an inch of dust on them.
yeah, we've all seen stores like that where it's like, some get kind of old in the back and whatnot. But that's why this place in Ardmore is really cool. They don't have stacks of beer hanging around. There's nothing hanging around in this place. They're not going to use 1 square foot of space on something that's not going to have an immediate market. And
Nice.
but it's still, they're doing a good enough of a volume that they've got plenty of stuff in there. Not always what I'm looking for, but there's always something. I mean, always something great.
I'm just kind of running into that problem where it's just I'm getting picky and choosy because of the fact that it's like, okay, if you find a beer that you really like, I mean, it's considered to be a safe buy. So if you see it again, you'd like to pick it up because you're like, okay, well, I'm going to spend my money on this because it was pretty damn good the first time that I had it. But now it's like I'm coming up to my 1,000th different beer, and it's just like I know that I can still do it and I can keep going further, but it's I'm missing a lot of imports, a lot of foreign beers, and still a lot of beers that we have here in the United States. But it's just like I see some of the pricing, and that's what deters me.
Well, maybe what we should do is start a GoFundMe where you can fulfill your lifelong dream to travel to Europe to study beer for a year in depth. Okay. To fulfill a lifelong dream to try every beer in Europe or something
Oh,
like,
God.
something that extreme to really, really experience what European beers have to offer and share that with the world. What do you think?
I mean, to be honest with you, I've had a lot of the beers that come from England, especially some of the bigger exports from England. And I see where our brewing roots are coming from because of the fact that it's just like a lot of their beers are low in alcohol. I mean, they got a lot of flavor, and they're not made for. Most people will just look at it and be like, okay, it's a good beer. Or some people will just, higher end craft beer geeks will just sit there and just drink the crap out of it and be
Which
like,
style are you
hey,
talking about? We made some broad statements about European beer, so that could be anything from.
I still have a bunch of bottles sitting around here. Okay, let's go with this one real quick. Sam Smith's Organic Lager. Have you guys
Okay.
had it?
No.
It is a phenomenal traditional craft brewed lager. And most people will pass this up in a heartbeat.
Is that a clear
But-
bottle?
No, it's a brown bottle.
Okay.
But yeah, it's an organic lager. It's traditionally craft brewed, no adjuncts, no nothing. But most people are going to pass it up because of the sheer fact that for stuff like this, for a 13%er, that's barrel aged or something like that. I mean, I went and I chose something like this to kind of get back to the basics. And it's just
Okay.
like, that's what I miss about a lot of the beer industry. I don't like the adjuncts. I don't like the big three because of the fact that it's like, they're almost like a corporate takeover now. And it's just like, I don't like that because of the fact that they almost feel like government to me.
The big beer conglomerates or
Yeah. I mean, they've got their hands in politicians' pockets. They're getting help from them. They're getting freebies. They're getting, hey, you can give those people incentives, but we didn't say that you could do that.
Yeah. It seems like basically anytime you kind of like pull up the carpeting and look under any industry, that's what you find.
Right.
So, you're a beer expert and you see that, but that's unfortunately it's just way too common. I mean, look at all the bullshit around Stone Brewing and their, getting a subsidy from. I mean, they were just like shopping. Basically, they were shopping governments to see who would give them the biggest subsidy. Like,
Well,
I don't know.
I think that Stone actually took a dive after Mitch Steele left. That was their, brewer for like the last, what was it, 10 years, 15 years?
I'm not familiar with them.
He's now working at a new brewery. I believe it's down in Atlanta, Georgia. So hopefully we'll have news on that and see if we can get some of their beer, floating through into the woods and we can try it out and see what new stuff that he has. He actually came up with the recipe for Ruination, Ruin 10, Enjoy By, all of those recipes.
The real big hits.
Right.
The mega hits.
Right. And ever since that he left, their beer quality has gone downhill.
That's interesting because they've expanded, and they just laid off. There was a big story about them laying off 60 people.
Yep.
And they claim that everything's fine, but I don't know how it could be fine if you're laying off 60 people. And the place that they just opened in Richmond is huge.
Right.
So and the market, years ago I used to buy Stone every once in a while, but there's so many other great things now. I always say that it's that level of brewery that's hurting the most from the upstart people in the craft market. Like the mid-sized breweries, Stone, Victory, used to buy that stuff all the time and never buy it anymore.
Well, everybody here knows that I'm a huge supporter of Sam Adams, and everybody just like hates on Sam's because of the fact that they've gotten so big that they're like the biggest. Jim even puts it that he's the biggest pygmy of the beer industry.
I never said that.
But I mean, they're even starting to feel the effects.
Oh, sure.
They've gotten so big, they don't know what to do anymore. They're losing revenue. They're losing stocks. They're trying to stay afloat in that top tier. And now that's what I was telling you guys is that that's why they're starting to look at brew pubs, because they don't have it.
They have to adapt to a changing market.
Right. And I think that that's a good thing, because I even told them specifically, I'm like, dude, seriously, take the brew houses, the tap houses, whatever you want to call them. I said, and do a bunch of one-offs, do experimentals.
It could be a chain. That could make it a chain that goes into like every shopping mall, up and down the Eastern Seaboard.
Well, they actually had, I don't know if it's still active, but over there in, I think it's Bringenville, Pennsylvania. That's where they have their brewery, over at the, I don't know if it's the Hilton over there or if it's a motel over there. They actually had a bar specifically set up in that town, specifically only for their beer. But I've seen a couple of pictures, but other than that, I haven't seen any other information. So I think it has since closed.
Years ago, there was a Sam Adams brew pub in Philadelphia. I don't know exactly what the relationship was to Sam Adams. I mean, it was like independently owned, but yet they were licensed by Sam Adams or something. And they certainly had some Sam Adams styles there, but they also made their own beers. It's what eventually became Notting Head, and now they've closed. But I don't know. I think they had that idea a long time ago. If it's interesting that they may now be revisiting it.
That would be really interesting.
I guess the question is if the craft beer sort of boat tide is still rising, is it is the Sam Adams tide rising as well? Are they a boat on that tide still, or at some point? I mean, as the market gets bigger and bigger and bigger, it's got like a limit. There is a limit there somewhere. Right? So,
even from Jim himself, he said that he's going to be the last American owner of Sam Adams. So he even foresees it himself.
So he's going to sell it to the Europeans, is what he's saying?
Sometime, I think he would. If he sold anything, he would sell it to a foreign company overseas, probably. I would say either German or English.
Or like Heineken, or
it's a possibility.
Or Duval maybe.
Well, we actually have the Duval brewery. I think it's in upstate New York.
Yes.
And then we also have a Guinness brewery going in New York.
Pass.
We have here in Ohio, they have the Brewdog brewery from Scotland. Their beer is phenomenal.
That rings a bell, but I'm having trouble placing it. Brewdog, yeah.
They also have a TV show on Esquire.
They have what?
They have a TV show on Esquire. The two guys that own Brewdog They came over here to America, and what they do is that they go around to all the breweries in the United States and they brew small batch beer
Okay.
with the breweries.
That's where this
Yeah.
is where I knew it was something in my brain. Like, yeah.
And don't they brew them like in weird places, like not necessarily at the brewery, but they'll
Yeah.
go, like I think I remember they were at a ski slope or something and brewing there and different.
I just
gimmicks.
watched the one on demand. It was what they brewed with Dogfish Head, and they did it on the raceway to do the world's fastest brewed beer.
The fastest brewed beer.
Yeah, they went.
They got
I
like
think they went,
special
like,
yeast, like
80
taking
miles an hour
steroids.
around the track while they brewed it.
No, they were physically moving fast while they
Yeah.
brewed the beer. It's silly
Oh,
gimmicks
and
that
then
they
oh,
do.
okay. I thought they
They
were
also
like
use the
like
super
like
yeast at the
soaking
end.
the yeast in cocaine first, so it's extra active.
When
Fastest brewed beer ever.
when they were with Sam Adams, Jim brought back out his big tub, and he filled it with wort, and the wort that they were going to brew their beer in, and then they all got naked inside that beer and let their
That's
bodies.
where the yeast came from.
Right.
Hmm.
Well, that's just like
They didn't really
road.
do- Is that? Are you serious? And then they made beer with that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd rather
I
drink
saw that.
Chicha beer.
I saw that episode,
Mhm.
and there was another one where they took a DNA of the Constitution.
Yep. They turned the Constitution into DNA.
Yep.
It was one
And put it in
DNA
beer.
for every
Yes.
single human being in the United States, and then they put it into the beer.
Ugh. You know where is the Rhine Heiske boat when you need it? You know, like no. There's certain, I'm pretty open minded about putting shit in beer. I can, oh, you're putting lobster in there, whatever. I don't care, but I got to draw the line somewhere.
What was it? Oh, there was another one too. It was really weird, and I'm like, dude, seriously, where's the end to all existence? They will put anything that you can imagine into a beer.
I'm not really into beer for like freak shows. It's like I love the
I'll taste it
creativity.
if it's good. It's good. If it's not, I'm going to tell them no, it's not.
But if the goal is to be just shocking and whatever, okay, whatever. But I'm more
Come on.
interested in the real artistry.
Come on, Jim Bab. You know you want it. Your next brewery. What's to be called? Freak Show Brewery. Freak Show Brewery.
Hasn't who was it? Coney Island did a beer, and it was called a Freak Show.
Coney Island gets it. Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. Well, weren't you telling us last time or a month ago, Scott, about a beer hotel with taps in your room?
Yeah,
Where-
Brewdog they put up a kind of like a GoFundMe for big pockets that you could actually go into Brewdog, and what it is kind of like a financial fund me. Where if you donate X amount of dollars to this, I don't know if they're calling it like the dog house, whatever they're calling it. But it's a hotel that they're creating where they're brewing sour beer. It's going to only house sour vats of beer. And they're building these rooms around the vats where you can
so
look
it's
out.
only going to be
into-
sour beers available in your hotel room?
Yeah, they said you will be able to have some of these beers in the room, and they're also going to put their standard in the room as well. They're going to have like 3 different taps. And then they said, this is where you kind of like disagreed with it because of the fact that they got hot tubs in the room that are filled with beer.
Mm.
And then you can also go in the shower, and they have a tap in the shower
To rinse off with beer or to drink while you're in the shower?
to drink while you're in the shower.
Okay, it's not like a beer shower.
No, just the hot tubs full of beer.
Shower beer. Shower beer.
They're calling it the ultimate beercation.
I hear Trump is into stuff like that.
Oh, I'm sure he is.
He likes a nice golden lager, like a Pilsner, or things that color.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Never mind. So I don't know, Richard. Would you stay in that hotel,
I don't know. I've stayed at
knowing
some-
ahead of time that it was mostly sour beers, which you don't really drink?
Right.
Well, their traditional beer, I think, is I want to say their first one that they're offering is it's a pale ale. That I think that's their go-to beer.
Okay, I think they need. They're going to need a variety just to be able to
Right.
maintain enough volume to satisfy
Right.
that. Like, you know, I'd hate to have to be like, I'm not staying at your beer hotel. I'm going to have to stay at this other beer hotel that I like their selection.
Well, they got the first one here. They're building the first one here in Ohio. But I also heard that Stone Brewing Company is doing the same thing.
Hey, I might be driving to Michigan, in which case I'm going to be going past Cincinnati. I mean Cleveland, not Cincinnati, Cleveland. And I thought about maybe hitting Great Lakes. Might give me an excuse to actually finally drop in on Great Lakes.
It's killer. I mean, they got great food. The beer's good. I would see if you could get chummy with the bar guy and see if you can get down into the cellar.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
you want to go with me down into the cellar? Hey,
The
I don't know.
cellar is where they
That's
hold
not
all
really
their
my style.
barrel-aged stuff and
they
their
got-
rarity stuff.
Oh, so like I hear you got the good stuff in the basement.
Right. Yeah, that kind of stuff.
They seem like nice folks. I was actually like stumbled into their like Facebook Live on, I guess it was St. Patrick's Day or something. They had like a cool little like Irish trio in there,
Yep.
and they just like ran a Facebook Live. Like I felt like I was sitting there in the pub with them. I just was wishing I had a beer in my hand, but like that's pretty cool.
Yeah, they're cool
Anyway.
people up there.
It's like a cool little trio they had on, and it looked like a very civilized vibe.
Great Lakes on the left, and then you got Market Garden Brewing Company on the right.
All right. Well, I'll consult you then. I guess I'll have to Are you a native Ohioan?
Yeah, I'm like an hour and a half away
Ohioanite? What's
from
an Ohio person from Ohio called?
Ohioan.
Ohioan. Ohioan. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm only about an hour's way from downtown Cleveland.
Hey, maybe you can meet me if I'm cruising through. Anyway, I have real good reason to go, but there's a dude. Get this. This guy, Chris, you'll appreciate this. This guy's on. There's a guy on trial in Michigan for passing out jury nullification pamphlets. Like, actually, they charged him with jury tampering, even though he was passing out pamphlets on a public sidewalk where there wasn't even a jury seated that day. And they're like, "Yeah, we're calling that jury tampering anyway." So, yeah.
Isn't that a bit overstretching?
What's that?
Isn't that a bit overstretch?
You'd think so, right? Because all these jury tampering statutes are very specific. They say stuff like, you have to interfere with a specific juror on a specific case to get a specific verdict. There's usually these three things mentioned, and the fact that they don't even have a juror, but it's insane. But yet they're still going through with with prosecuting this guy Keith Wood. So I'd love to just go pamphlet at that trial just for the recursive lulls.
Why can't some of these people that are being prosecuted under these idiot laws, when they win their case, turn around and sue the government and put some fear into these people, because they're just going to keep doing it. But I mean, if somebody successfully gets $100,000, and believe me, the city of Philadelphia settles all the time for these ridiculous false arrests. I was stupid not to sue them in my case, but I let it go. But similar cases, they pay out, and if all of a sudden these governments start paying out some money in some of these cases, maybe they'll
how
stop
much would you be
harassing
willing
these
to?
people.
How much would you be willing to invest
Invest in what?
in a lawsuit?
No, that's a good question. I haven't thought about that. Should we?
But that's really the question that everybody has to go through in these situations. How much are you willing to invest to roll the dice and see what the court gives you back?
Yeah, but I don't know that it
it's
would
like
cost
putting a
that
quarter in a
much.
slot machine.
I mean, do You could always file a lawsuit without legal representation, and that's the problem. You have
Not
to.
really.
But
You know, you
even-
really can't. You really, I mean, unless you like become your own lawyer, there's really no way a normal person can actually do any of that stuff.
Dave John does that type of stuff all the time.
He's not a normal person, right? No, and I mean that in the highest form of a compliment. Most people, I mean, it's completely just inconceivable that they're going to do any of that legal paperwork or know what to do or have, you know, nobody else has a David John. You know, like we're lucky, but most of the world doesn't get to have one, and they're like, well, and you ask the court what to do, and they're like, well, we don't tell you what to do.
Well, then I guess the question is, you say how much are you willing to invest? We need to find out how much does it cost. How much does
I've
it
always
cost?
thought that a lawyer should work on a percentage basis on
And
these,
I
on
think
these cases.
some of them do on some of these cases. Like in Philadelphia, it happens all the time. So who are these people in Philadelphia filing these cases?
Find
Who are
me
the
that
lawyers
lawyer.
taking them on? Yeah, you got to find lawyers that aren't in bed with the court to begin with.
Well, let's throw this out to our beer and bullshit audience. If you're a lawyer, or you know a lawyer, or you're thinking about going to law school, let's work out some kind of a deal, like where you're just basically working on a percentage basis, and just get really good at going after the suing for false arrest. If you're good, you will win big commissions. If you're not good, you will be self-selected into another occupation. But I think there's I think it's a loser's game. I think it's completely rigged that you don't win. You think you're going to win because you're right, but it it's like, I'm completely right, and look at how fucked up this is.
All I know is
And they just laugh at you, and now you're out like another 15 grand.
every year the Philadelphia Inquirer publishes an article about like all the cases that the city settled in the previous year over exactly these type of cases.
They
There's
do
probably
hand
a
out
lot that you
millions and
don't
millions
win.
and millions of dollars in Philly. It's like a
Right.
huge, but they, they just make it up on their asset forfeiture.
Of
Like
course.
that's, I swear to God, the balance and the books are balanced. So I don't know, lawyer. Hey, lawyer, here's your business opportunity. Quit your firm or start a take half. Okay, I'm thinking half, 50-50, 50% for the lawyer, 50% for the victim. Is that fair?
Sure.
Right, but you only get paid when you win. And what about the backlash of like, oh, remember how they can like sue you back for suing them, shit like that.
Well, exactly. I
Yourself up
mean,
to additional liability. Oh, and then not only did you lose, but now you actually owe them another 50 grand. Oh, oops.
and so many of the lawyers are in bed with the government. You have to find a lawyer, even when they handle lawsuits, in most civil cases are one party against another party. They're not against the government. So, I mean, that's the problem you got to find out. What I saw in
Saul
municipal
Goodman,
court,
where are
was
you?
every attorney I saw in municipal court was working for the court, not for their client.
Literally, that's a fact. They do work for the court at the pleasure of the crown. So, but there's a Saul Goodman out there somewhere.
Yes.
That just makes me think back at the time that I met these two lawyers at the bar. We're from Pennsylvania. We are not from here. Okay, I don't care. But she started talking to me, and she was like, "Oh well, let me get some of your views." So we started talking, and her boyfriend, fiance, whatever, he was drunk enough that he knocked over his beer because we started talking about the Constitution, and he was like, "Oh, wait a minute," and he knocked over his beer. And then we got back to the story. He was like, "I just did a essay on that the other day because I had to actually take a look to see if the Constitution still exists." I was like, "Are you kidding
They actually
me?"
keep it. They keep it secured here in Philadelphia.
He was like,
locked away.
Well, I stepped
where it
back
can't hurt
and I just
anybody.
looked at him and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" He was like, "No, I didn't think it still existed anymore." He was like, "I thought it was all amended." I said, "Well, it is amended." I said, "But the standards still exist and the amendments still exist." he was like, I just, thought we threw it out.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, we didn't
he is.
throw it
He
out.
is.
It never
he-
really
well,
was in
well,
effect ever.
well, he is correct. The government has thrown out the Constitution. All right,
Were they
it's
never followed it. When did they ever
they
follow it?
never. And you know what? And every time someone says, "Oh well," some politician says we must go by the Constitution. It's like, have
It's
you
going
have
by
you
their own
have you checked the butt wipes on the Constitution? I mean, you use it as toilet paper, so I mean, it's null and void. It's null and void since the ink has dried on the paper. So I mean, the Constitution is just a bunch of bullarchy to me.
Well, you know what? I think it is actually really well crafted for a sales brochure. Okay. I think the ad copy is really well written and it's quite convincing. And you read it and you're like, oh, that actually sounds like, I'd like to, people say, yeah, I'll buy that.
Think
Right.
about who wrote it, though.
Unfortunately, the actual product may vary.
Well, that's like the Declaration. I mean, take the Declaration and the Constitution at the same time. I mean, it was a bunch of drunks. Martyrs.
Well, actually, one was the opposite of the other, right? There was like Declaration was the revolution, and then Constitution was the counter-revolution.
Right.
Like,
Right.
hey, we want to do what we want to do. Oh, you do you?
But I mean, that's just it. I mean, we've gone so far forward that we're taking like 10 steps back. And we're kind of trying to rewrite history and rewrite over our laws that were like the founding stepping stones of building a country. And they're like, okay, well, we've advanced this far, so now we got to take precautions against our advancements. Why?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Like guns, for example. Here in the United States, when people were here, we didn't have guns. We stole them.
Who's this?
Our founding people.
Our founding people?
Yeah.
What's a founding people?
The people of the Revolution, 1776, 1778, I mean, you can go on and on. I mean, we stole those weapons. I mean, we didn't have our own. Most of them were farmers. Most of them were brewers, bakers, horse and buggy drivers. They were peaceful people at the time.
Brewers.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, James. There's still prostitutes.
Yeah, they're there too.
They'll be, government will collapse, and and the prostitutes will remain.
More than likely from all the diseases.
Which one are you talking about?
What disease?
I'm talking about the prostitutes. I'm talking about I'm talking about the politicians that pose as prostitutes.
All of them.
Giving the legit prostitutes a bad name.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I just tax it and be done with it.
Hey, did you guys hear about the big drug bust here in Philly? They had a big weed bust. Did you guys follow that?
No.
Oh man, Richard, I'm sure you followed that, right?
Of course.
Yeah. Anyway, our friend N.A. Poe got nabbed along with 22 other people. He was allegedly hosting like what would be, I would call a marijuana trade show in a warehouse.
Okay.
And widely advertised and otherwise successful, except that there are like major charges on 22 people. So they got infiltrated pretty hard, and anybody that would had like a booth selling, was basically facing the quantities of like all of it together. Like, so they added up these insane quantities and money and guns and they're like sticking it to all 22.
Was there?
What's that?
Did they say how much marijuana was involved?
They did. I don't know. 50 pounds. Let me see if I can look it up.
Yeah, it was like around 50 pounds and 300 pounds of edibles or something. and $50,000. Of course, they waited until the thing was almost over to go in so they could confiscate all the money that the vendors sold.
Of course.
Yeah, they could have stopped it at 6 when it began, but no, they waited till everybody had already made their purchases and left.
That's like there was a drug bust on the Ohio interstate. Somebody got stopped for 100 pounds of marijuana.
I see that all the time. I love it when those things get on Facebook and people just rip them to shreds. It's too easy.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, so our friend Poe was in jail for a week. He got out the other day. One of the charges he got is causing catastrophe. Did you know that, Richard? Causing catastrophe?
Yeah, I followed that. Yeah, that's
unbelievable.
yeah.
Wait a minute. I don't get that. How do you cause catastrophe?
Well, there's an actual statute. Let me give me a second, and I'll read you the text because it's pretty funny, and it tells you specifically how to cause a catastrophe that qualifies.
Yeah, you don't actually have to cause the catastrophe. If
No, you
you're
do.
in a situation where there potentially could be a catastrophe.
That's a different.
where
There's a
they
paragraph
put that out
A and
there.
a paragraph B. One
Okay,
is causing,
okay,
the other
what-
is risking.
Okay, if you're hosting a weed convention, the only catastrophe you could ever happen is a whole bunch of people raiding your grocery store for Doritos and Sara Lee cakes. That's the only catastrophe I could think of.
Well, that almost sounds similar to something here in Ohio. I mean, even if you have your CCW, and like for example, if Chris is over here and I'm outside and we're sitting there BSing, and you say, "Hey, I see you got your piece on you. What you got?" And if I sit there and go, "Oh, this is what I got," and we don't have a brandishing law, but somebody could say, "Oh my God, look, he's got a gun," and call the police, and now I've incited a panic.
That's even stupid.
Yeah.
That's even stupid.
Yep.
And then people wonder why I want to do away with 95% of the fucking laws out there.
Yep.
Is because they repeat itself. They repeat itself all the time.
But what's stupid about that whole thing is that here in Ohio, we don't have to cover them. We have an open carry.
Yeah, we've got to conceal ours. Yes.
Yeah, I have my concealed carry, and here in Ohio, we can open carry. I'm like, okay, so I just paid all this money just to drop my shirt over it. Yay me.
I'm gonna read you the actual text of this particular, because it is kind of funny.
Okay.
And there's two sections. One is causing catastrophe, paragraph A. The other is risking catastrophe, paragraph B. He was specifically charged with A. Causing catastrophe. Okay. A person causes a catastrophe by explosion, fire, flood, avalanche, collapse of building, release of poisonous gas, radioactive material, or other harmful or potentially widespread injury or damage. Or by any other means of causing. So you have to cause, but then I don't understand this. Causing potentially widespread. What is that?
Okay, so that's almost
Okay, James. He was potentially causing a grocery store to run out of Doritos and Sara Lee cakes by a bunch of potheads. There you go. There you go.
Say the same thing.
There you go.
I don't know. It's just by other means of causing potentially widespread injury or damage.
You could say the same thing if you pass gas too much, because therefore you just put in too much methane into the gas.
Well, I think what they wanted to, what they sort of, the commentary they added was like, this is basically like an unsafe warehouse party that didn't have enough exits or smoke alarms or something. May or may not have been true. I wasn't there.
But even in that scenario, what is the harmful gas or harmful substance to
Pot smoke. Pot smoke. You
If he
know.
does so intentionally,
on.
this is a
It
this is a
is not
felony. This is a
harmful.
felony in the first degree if he does so intentionally or knowingly, or a felony of the second degree if he does so recklessly. So
Come on, Scott. We just think who the Attorney General of the United
I
States
know.
is. Okay, so I mean, pot is so dangerous. Come on, really? It's so dangerous. We're going back. This whole bullshit's going back to the 50s, 40s, and 50s. There's reefer madness, and black men are gonna rape our women.
No.
Because they're on weed and shit like that.
It was
It's
worse
just
than that. It was that the white women were going to want to have sexual relations with jazz musicians and Negroes, right?
Yeah.
Like that was
right.
that was their justification. Like if we allow weed out there, our women are going to be they're going to be hanging out with black dudes and jazz musicians, and I mean. Can't we give it up by now? Like seriously.
I know, right? And you know what, Jim? There's still a whole bunch of idiots out there today that still believe that crap. And that's why we have people like Jeff Sessions as an attorney general, okay, that is saying pot is bad, and be like, yeah, if pot is so bad, okay, why are you still at home still drinking like even beer's more dangerous freaking than weed.
It's all
But
decent.
these idiots are they're just a bunch of fucking idiots.
Well, that's like here in Ohio, we got the biggest, what the hell is it? The most deaths here in Ohio from meth. But yet they're just like, oh, Narcan this, Narcan that, Narcan this, Narcan that. Let's revive them. It's okay. They have a sickness. They need help.
They do.
But yet at the same time, they're just going to go back to their dealer. They're going to get their shit again. They're going to overdose again, and we're just going to repeat this.
Well, obviously that strategy's not working. So, do you guys know who Harry Anslinger is? He was like the original drug warrior dude.
No.
He said, you'll recognize some of his quotes. Basically, he invented the prohibition, drug prohibition. There are 100,000 total marijuana smokers in the U.S., and most are Negroes, Hispanics, Filipinos, and entertainers. Their satanic music, jazz, and swing result from marijuana usage. This marijuana causes white women to seek sexual relations with Negroes, entertainers, and any others.
Oh my God.
I mean, we're still living this fucking nightmare from douchebags like that.
Exactly.
But
no, that's just, people were stupid and retarded back then. No, that we're still living this nightmare today.
Isn't this the type of tyranny that we're supposed to be fighting against?
Well, aren't we?
Awesome.
But that's what we are. Anyway. So, and definitely our friends Poe and company who were hosting this alleged marijuana trade show were sort of just saying, fuck you. We're going to live our life and we're going to do this and try to stop us. Well, anyway, they're in trouble. We'll see how it goes.
Keep us updated, Jim.
Yeah, I will. Poe was almost he was a previous libertarian candidate, but he let us down at a big time in the last time we nominated him. He was going to be our attorney general candidate in Pennsylvania. He's going to get in a debate, smoke a joint on stage at a debate with the other attorney general douchebags. Anyway, he got scared and they threatened him and he dropped off the ballot because he got scared. But
what?
Yeah, still would have been fun.
Even if he didn't win, it would still be fun.
Oh, he wouldn't win, but
still,
no.
It's just the point.
I mean, it sounded like, Jim, you didn't go to the hearing. I thought about going to the hearing, but, did you see the write-up about it on Philly.com?
Was
about
it
the
Chris
bail.
Goldstein doing the writing?
Was it? I don't know. But it sounded like it was a little, I mean, it was kind of interesting. At the end of the day, they reduced his bail to below the bail of all the other people that got arrested. They reduced his bail to 10,000, and
I'm not surprised.
of which you only had to pay 1% or 10%. So he only had to pay $1,000. And all those other guys, the other remaining people, you know, their bails were all kept at 50,000 because they all paid it the next day to get out. So it's just kind of interesting that, you know,
Don't worry. They just needed to make sure they were going to get their substantial cut. And remember that they use that bail as, remember, the bail is supposed, although it's supposed to be, you know, a way to like make sure that the right people stand trial. It's become a punitive measure.
Right.
So they, you know, you're either going to, we're arresting you, and you're going to sit in jail for a week. Just because we set your bail at 200, they initially set his bail at 250,000, which means a bail bondsman you could buy out for 25K. You drop
Right.
25K.
Yeah, and you wouldn't get that 25K back. So yeah,
just for a week on the outside, right?
Right.
Leave me in, you know.
Yeah.
So, but they're not supposed to use bail as punishment, but obviously it is.
But if you put up your own 25,000, because you only have to put up 10%. So if you put up your own 25,000 rather than using a bail bondsman, assuming you had access to it, you would get that back, right?
Right.
I mean,
Most people
show
don't
up
have
and-
that. Plus, it's all the channels are structured. So at 2 a.m. you can make a phone call with your credit card number, and the shit's getting paid. Like, because once you pay them, they're sort of working for you, and
Right.
kind of as your agent in the kidnapping, whatever. But
Right.
they're experienced in facilitating the transactions. Where, yeah, I've done it where I've paid it directly, and you show up, and they're like, no, we don't accept cash. No, we don't accept credit cards. No, we don't accept personal checks, or like,
So
you
like
have to go to another office tomorrow or on Monday and get a cashier's check, and that's the only thing it's like just hoop after hoop after hoop.
well, when you did it for Matt, did you pay a bondsman?
Yeah, I gave him the credit card number over the phone.
Okay, so you paid a bondsman. You didn't go to the court and pay the court. Or
No, that's right.
police
That's what the bondsman, like, he just picks up his phone or sends an email
Right.
or something, or has an electronic terminal or something. I don't know how they do
Right.
it, but you know, like in Philly with Poe or with those guys, we went to one of the jails with Fernando. So Fernando and I went because we heard there might be a 1 a.m. bail hearing. Okay. Like, wow, they're doing 1 a.m. bail hearings in Philly, you know, like literally night court and stuff.
Was
So,
it Poe's original hearing at 1 a.m.?
I think so. I think they all were. At least is what the rumor we had heard.
I mean, that's the crazy thing. He was in jail for like 36 hours, and then his first, you know, like they couldn't have done it at all during normal hours the next day. No, they waited until 1 a.m., like on the second or third day.
I think it was like 24 hours later at 1 a.m. Like basically probably right at like the maximum they can get away with it. But you couldn't bail him out there. That's where they were keeping him. You
Right.
had to pay on Filbert Street. Like you'd pay on Filbert Street, and then so you could drive down, which is like 8 miles through Philly to get to Filbert Street. You know, this is like it's not like, oh, it's down the block. It's like a substantially different part of Philly. So, you know, if you were getting somebody out, you'd have to go there, pay the money. Then they release them while you're like driving there to get them. Then you can't. So you can't even be there to like get them out if you're just one person. So the whole thing's such a disgusting racket. It's really
it is.
infuriating. Absolutely infuriating. And the hearing, that thing on, was it Monday?
Hey guys,
Was,
I'm gonna jump up off here.
all right, bud.
All right, later, Scott. Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
See you.
Appreciate it.
That hearing was, well, we couldn't get in. We got turned away because of Josie. I was with Josie, and she had a pocket knife, and we
Was
almost
that the
ended up in
place, like,
jail.
was that the
because of
place on Arch Street, like 14th and Arch? Or
No,
13th?
this is 1301 Filbert.
Filbert. Okay, maybe that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, it is Filbert.
There's a traffic fine place or a traffic court on like Spring Garden.
Right.
But anyway, this place is really bad vibe. Really bad vibe.
Oh, it's all
they've
the
got
places oh, it's horrible.
They got all kinds of nasty when they just saw her pocket knife in her bag. Because like we talked about it, like they're like, will they let us take it in? I'm like, oh, I don't know. They'll either tell us they will or check it or tell you can't bring it in. We never expect them to be like, oh, you know what? Let's get a suit. You know what? We can take you in for this. You know what? Yeah, you stand over here for a second. Hold on. Like started being the like all chest, puffed out and thumping and I said something like, well, what about my toenail clippers? Are you concerned about those too? And now he's telling the supervisor, oh, and this guy thinks he's funny. He's like, oh yeah, you think you're funny? Well, we can take your woman in. We can take her in. Like they were gonna punish me by like arresting Josie for having a stupid pocket knife, which is completely ridiculous anyway.
Yeah, and it's probably better off you didn't get in because the whole thing is just so miserable. I mean, just my experience there.
With your other experiences?
Yeah, I mean, just sitting in the courtroom waiting, and it's just waiting, and everybody there just barks. It's just a sea of all the authority figures there. Just barking at everyone and everything. It's miserable.
It really is sort of, I think, a petri dish for statism run amok without check, self-reinforcing. Like we are the gods and you are frickin' animals in our pen. It was clearly what's that like Stanley Prison Experiment? You know the one I'm talking about? That prison, where they had college students be prisoners and guards and they all turned savage.
Oh yeah.
They're like live action role playing that.
Right.
like living it out. And they've been running the experiment for so many years that it's really it's just the attitude, you can see it on people's faces. They have that look in their face like, wow, you've been a douche for your whole career and it just sits in your face. I don't know.
Yeah, even the guys at the federal courthouse in Manhattan when we went up there for Ross's appeal thing, when they wouldn't let me in. And that's fine. All right, I get it. I didn't have my license. They weren't going to let me in. But they were just so freaking, just.
Did they threaten to arrest you for it?
Oh, they were ordering me like off the immediately. It's just like you couldn't even pretend to reason with them. They're just like threatening you and
That's all they know. That's all they know. Just as if you were like, let's just say you worked in the cattle business and like a cow comes through and he starts sniffing in the wrong place, you smack him in the nose probably, right? Like, I don't know. Maybe that's not fair to say about cattle people. They probably wouldn't do that, but
I love the analogy.
But that's what they're thinking, right? They're just like, shut up and move through the chute, you dumb animal.
Yeah.
Anyway. I blame Angslinger and Jeff Sessions and everybody in between.
Well, did you see Jeff Sessions? They arrested that woman who laughed at his confirmation hearing.
Oh yeah, he laughed at a code. She was. I think that was a while ago. She was.
It was convicted. A while ago, yeah. But they're pursuing it. They're pursuing the prosecution
Code Pink
of it.
Girl.
What's that? Yeah, Pink Girl, right?
Code Pink. Anyway, God bless her. God bless her for that. I think she handled herself well. I mean, if all you're doing is laughing at him,
right?
He certainly deserves to be laughed at.
I mean, it was funny. I mean, it's like, how are you supposed to control laughter? Is just kind of like automatic. You can't help it.
Right. And the root of all comedy is tragedy. So in the face of that much tragedy, it's bound to be hilarious.
That's right.
Anyway, hey, I got to bail out too. I'm right. Got to get to work.
Yeah, likewise.
All right. Well, thank you guys for being on. And I will see y'all next time.
All right. Great seeing you guys.
Sounds good.
All
See
right.
y'all. All right. Bye.
Thank you.